Hi, it's time for a book review. I've got 16 witchcraft and witchcraft related books that I want to give you a review of today, an honest opinion. And I hope that you'll stick around for all 16. I'm not going in any particular order of like and dislike. I will try to breeze through, so it's not going to be a very long video while still giving you an honest review of these different books. So, for those of you who haven't been here before, my name is Jody McDowell. I'm a psychic, energy worker, and a witch in no particular order. And welcome back to those of you who have been before, and welcome to all of my new subscribers. Please, I hope that you'll find something in this worth liking and subscribing, other content. And if there's something you'd like to see more of or ask questions, by all means, shoot me a message in the comments and I will try and address it. I'm a new channel, so there's lots and lots I haven't um, gone over and addressed yet. And I want to know what you want to know so that I spend my time valuably. Okay, so let's get started. At the top of the stack here is Lilowin's Little Book of Halloween by Mickey Mueller. Okay, let me tell you. Mickey Mueller is one of my favorite channels. I absolutely love her. Um, she doesn't post a whole lot of videos, but when she does, they're phenomenal. And I bought this book because of her channel, watching her. And she goes over in here the history of Halloween and jack-o'-lanterns, how some of the different names of old spices. So like when we hear, oh, I can't think of any off the top of my head. Um, like Eye of Newt. She actually has a list in here of what that is and others that are similar to that because they correspond to modern day spices without the fun name. So a little bit of memorization and you've got a fun way of labeling. She also has ways of honoring Samhain or Halloween and her personal stories of growing up with Halloween. It's a beautiful little book. Honestly, I couldn't put it down. I read it in about 3 or 4 hours, just cover to cover. Um, Great little addition to my book collection. Moving on through here. Um, The Wiccan Kitchen, A Guide to Magical Cooking and Recipes by Lisa Chamberlain. This is one of the first books I picked up when I was really starting to read anything and everything I could get my hands on related to witchcraft and correspondences. Um, it stayed in my collection. I would put this in a very entry level, beginner level witchcraft book. It's got some lovely recipes. Honestly, not things I would necessarily cook, um, but it's still a beautiful book. I'm not Wiccan, so some of the correspondences and such don't resonate, but there's still really good information in here. Um, so, for instance, in the middle of the book, there's pages here for magical uses for food according to colors. Um, so you're getting multiple levels of correspondences, and then how to use the elements in your kitchen, culinary herbs, um, like just all kinds of different things. It's okay. And so, like the first page of this, in the table of correspondences for the kitchen witch, pantry staples and magical goals. So goes through a handful of items to keep stocked in your kitchen for magical purposes. And just a really helpful book to get you started down the path of kitchen witchery. And um, okay, so I just opened up to page 125, Edible Magic, and it says Juicy Potion for Releasing Old Relationships. Um, what a fun way to do a releasing spell, is to make yourself a nice little something to drink, an energetic tea. Okay, a keeper. Um, I haven't used it much yet. I've made a couple of recipes, but definitely a keeper. Um, okay, next we've got another Mickey Mueller, and that is The Witch's Mirror. Fantastic little book. Once again, fantastic little book. Um, she goes into how to use magic and mirrors, working with deities, scrying, which mirrors to use, how to create hexenspiegels and um, mirror washes, how to charge mirrors, how to create your own mirrors. Um, Excellent, excellent little book. Okay, now this is one I picked up recently. Um, I have family from Kentucky, and my grandmother was a granny witch. Um, I found that out talking to her, doing some work with my ancestors. And this little book of the Old Mountain Spell Book, Exploring Appalachian Folklore and Magic, Hoodoo, Root Work, and Moon Spells by Alda Dagny. Um, a very basic introduction to the kind of magic done in the Appalachians. Not anything in depth. I don't think there's really much in the way of spells that you can do, but if you want a basic understanding of where it comes from, what the understanding is, how they work, I definitely learned some things because, my grandmother was long gone by the time I was born. And so I didn't get to talk to her, and my aunts and such didn't follow the path. So I lost contact with that. And so it gave me a beginning cursory, like I said, a very cursory understanding of what magic looks like in the back hills like that. So, if you're expecting more than just an introduction, this book is going to be very, very disappointing. But if you know nothing about Appalachian magic, it'll at least give you some paths to start looking down. Okay, now this one, The Modern Witch's Guide to Magical Self-Care by Tanae Stewart. So Stephen and I went to a self-care workshop over in Calistoga. I think it was last year, maybe the year before. I don't remember exactly. And Tanae was putting on this talk, and it was about gems. So, of course, I had to buy the book, and it is signed. And I found it to be a lovely little book. Beautiful graphics. It's easy to read. Once again, I read it in several hours, cover to cover. And yes, I read fairly quickly, although I'm not speed reading. Um, so here she's talking about things like a recipe for a rollerball blend that's for um, clearing the mind with lemon oil for purification, angelica for healing visions, juniper for love and protection, and spearmint oil for banishing the mental chatter. Great blend there. Those are all things I would pull out for the same things. Social media detoxes, and she just goes through some lovely things. And it's a very pretty book. Like all of the pictures throughout are aesthetically beautiful, just like this. So it's a great little coffee table book. Um, get conversation started and some lovely tips. Okay, gem water. I bought this the same day. Um, it's called Gem Water: How to Prepare and Use More Than 130 Crystal Waters for Therapeutic Treatments by Michael Ginger and Joachim Goebel. Here's the cover of this. Okay, so at this time, I knew little to nothing about gems. I hadn't done my crystal Reiki courses yet. I was just starting to even show interest in crystals. And gotta say, for being such a little tiny book, it's jam packed with information. It's 100% a keeper. Tells you, it has lists of what crystals are water safe, which are not, which are safe for consumption, which are not, how to charge your waters, which ones to use for which purposes, and how long to leave the gems in the water or how to charge them next to so that they're not literally infusing inside the water, but rather charging it from the outside. Um, for a little $12 book, $12 US and $15 Canadian, I can't recommend this enough if you're even remotely interested in gem healing and crystals. Okay, now moving down a bit, we've got The Art of Hoodoo Magic, excuse me, The Art of Hoodoo Candle Magic and Rootwork Conjure and Spiritual Church Services by Catherine Ironwood and Mikhail Strabo. So I won a big stack of, I think it was 11 or 13 books. I don't remember exactly. From, I'm blanking on the name of the store. It will come back to me. But Catherine Ironwood owns the store. I did a video where I went there. And so I've got a couple of only 2 books in this series that I got that day. Um, I like this little book. It's, yes, it's about hoodoo and root work and all of that, but a lot of it crosses over, a lot of the lines blur between the magic that, say, someone who's Wiccan does, someone who's Norse pagan. So it's a lot of information that can help you blend and understand further candle magic at large, and what colors to use, what type of candles, how to dress a candle, lamp spells, um, why and how you would do like a moving candle spell. Kind of a short little book on everything candle magic you could want to know. Again, I read it in an afternoon. Um, Fantastic book. Highly recommend. Okay, this one here, Hoodoo Food. Oh my goodness. So that the Hoodoo Candle Magic was free. This one I bought. And Hoodoo Food, the best of the Conjure Cook-Off and Rootwork Recipe Roundup, served with love by the Ladies Auxiliary of Mission Independent Spiritual Church. So the sales girl in the store said that this book just sits on the shelves and nobody buys it, or hardly. Like, it's just not a very popular book. And I'm like, oh, I need to bring this home. And some of the recipes look absolutely delicious. Lucky Mojo is the name of the store. I just found the receipt inside the book. Lucky Mojo in Forestville. So there are recipes inside the book for all kinds of purposes. How to bring lovers about, enemy tricks, spicy chocolate coffee frosting. Um, Life isn't always peace, protection, and vanilla sugared kindness. When the going gets tough, some root workers play rough. These recipes use a hot pepper kick, and sometimes more, to take revenge or gain the upper hand against those who have crossed the line. By calling a target's name into these foods as they are prepared, we also ensure that no innocent bystanders are harmed. We may bring poisonous wishes, but never poisonous dishes. So here's this yummy frosting with some, not so nice intent. And Four Thieves vinegar potato salad and several amazing looking chili recipes, love muffins. Um, and throughout the book, there's all of these beautiful recipes for a very varied causes and spell work. Um, and each one includes what the ingredients are for, the purpose, how they work, and um, nothing is terribly difficult. It's all very attainable stuff. All right. This book here, Spiritual Growth, Being Your Higher Self, by Sanaya Roman. Just look at the cover of this book and it'll tell you a lot. This isn't the very first book I bought, but it was one very like it. Way back when I was 16 years old, wandering around in a Barnes and Nobles. Um, a friend passed this book on to me, and I've kept it because of the friendship, but also the material. Um, there are tools in here to get you started on meditation. And um, let's see, let me look at. So, reaching upward, being your higher self, creating with light, connecting with the universal mind, linking with higher will, seeing the bigger picture, receiving revelations, opening awareness of inner planes, moving into higher consciousness. So, these all sound like kind of heady and difficult concepts, but they're broken down beautifully. And there are easy to do steps. So, it's not just a it's a nice book. It's a nice book. Um, I keep it on my shelf for quite a few reasons, even though I haven't read it in a very long time. If you're interested in learning how to do some of these things and the theory behind it, it's a great little book. Um, the first copy I had was very, very similar to this, except it also had subjects like automatic writing and palmistry and stuff like that. Okay, another great book, Tea Magic, Spells, Rituals, and Divination in Your Cup by Janae Marentate. If I've said this incorrectly, please forgive me. Okay. Um, most of us, at least Americans, don't know how to make a proper cup of tea. um, this will at least tell you the different types of teas. I'm not saying anything bad about this book. I think it's fabulous. And it's staying on my tea shelf to the point that like I've given copies to friends. Um, if you don't learn anything else, the different types of teas, the caffeine levels, the difference between, like for instance, herbal teas aren't tea at all. Um, and there are a number of really nice tea blends in the back. And there are sections on, like, here's a recipe for cannabis chai tea. So there's a whole section on how to use cannabis as a tea. Not something I personally do, but I'm not opposed to it. And I think it's a good skill for some to have if you've got chronic pain or um, other things that one would use cannabis for. I think it's a lovely use. Okay, now let's get into one that I have an extremely low opinion of, which begs the question, should I tell you? Um, but I say yes because I spent money on this book and I would encourage others not to. So the name of the book is Palmistry or Chiromancy Explained, the Ultimate Palmistry Guide for Beginners. Chiromancy Overview, Basics of Palmistry, Palm Lines, Mounts, Indicators, Histories, Do's and Don'ts, and More by Riley Starr. And here we have said book. Now, I started doing palmistry before anything else. That was my very first calling. And at the time, I didn't know that I was sensing more by touch rather than reading the lines. But I was watching videos, and Kara over at Pagan Crafting was doing a series on grimoire with me, and she'd done palm reading. And so I said, I'm going to pick up a book and refresh myself. A little more in depth than what her stuff was providing. And this book is poorly written. It's not grammatically correct. The drawings are impossible to read. Um, the information isn't horrible. It's just not It's not a great book. It's not a great book. It wasn't terribly expensive. Um, Honestly, I wished I'd saved my money, and I will probably donate this book somewhere. Um, Please don't come after me for hating this book. My personal opinion, I that's all I have is my own opinion. Okay, so let's come over here to Essential Oil Magic by Helsdotter, Verdane Helsdotter. Okay, this was early in my delve into more formal witchcraft as well, and I have post-its and stuff throughout this book marking um, recipes, information. It doesn't go through, obviously, with the size of this book, it doesn't go through every single essential oil there is, but it tells you what the different carrier oils are, why use one versus another, tells you how to mix your ratios, how to figure out your ratios for safety. And it does go through um, a wide variety of different essential oils, their magical uses, precautions, things to mix them with, um, like what their friends are, and also a nice selection of um, recipes. I've done quite a few out of here, and I find this to be a delightful little book. For a beginner green witchcraft, someone just wanting to very beginning touch your toe into magical blends, great little book. I recommend. If you're more advanced, it's still not a bad book, but probably is beyond, you're probably beyond the book. Lots of these what I would consider to be beginner books. Okay, Green Witchcraft, a practical guide to discovering the magic of plants, herbs, crystals, and beyond by Paige Vanderbeck. Um, Again, one of those really early books. Um, I thought I was a green witch. Well, I am in part. I do lots of stuff. I found the recipes to be really good in here. So, like, here's one that just popped out to me for a psychic hangover tea. Um, which, if you do any kind of psychic readings on a regular basis, never a bad thing to have something on hand. So, this calls for 6 teaspoons of black tea, 2 teaspoons of. Okay, so this one's a tea blend. Okay, sorry, I said that already. 6 teaspoons of black tea, 2 teaspoons of rose hips, 2 teaspoons of chamomile, 2 teaspoons of mint, 1 teaspoon of lavender, a metal tea ball or a fillable tea bag, your favorite teacup and saucer, a teapot, um, and a tinner bag for storage of the larger receptacle. Honey or sugar, milk, and ice optional if you want to ice it. And then it tells you what to do with it and how to charge it. And actually sounds like a very delicious tea. Nice of lots. I'm stuttering. There are a lot of really nice recipes in here and spells for quite a few things. And looks like I need to revisit this book because as I'm flipping through it, I'm seeing more and more that I may not have been quite ready for at the time. Um, I don't know that I'm necessarily not past them now, but there's some really nice things in here. Not a bad one to have on your shelf. Nice little reference book. Okay, here we have The Eclectic Witch's Book of Shadows, Witchy Wisdom at Your Fingertips by Deborah Blake. And I know this book looks like I haven't even opened it, but I have actually read it. Um, I sit down and I read books like this cover to cover before they even make it upstairs. Um, there are nice correspondences, recipes, rituals. There's room to make notes in this book, and journal pages, information about goddesses and gods. It's a nice beginner to intermediate book for tracking things and learning, learning how to call in the quarters, and um, some nice spells. There's some art witchery in here. It's just a really pretty book, and it's got some nice information. Okay, now another one that I like quite well is The Witch's Herbal Apothecary: Rituals and Recipes for a Year of Earth Magic and Sacred Medicine Making by Marissa Mirnowska. I'm sure I butchered that, and please forgive me. I'm so sorry. This book is phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. So, as you go through the book, it goes through the year and starts season by season with spells and foods to make and growing tips and um, the Sabbats, how to work with the seasons of the witch, from Maiden, Mother Crone, um, and how they relate to the seasons, and a full ritual, how to cast a circle, how to close it. Um, Lots of really good information here. It's a beautiful book. I haven't read it cover to cover yet. It's the only one of these I have not. And that is because it doesn't feel right to me to move to the next season. And I put it back on the shelf between seasons, and I tend to forget about it. And so I probably read spring and summer a few times, and um, I think this one needs to stay out, and I'll go back over it again. An absolutely beautiful book. Highly recommend. I pulled this out and did my first full ceremony with friends last summer, and it was really beautiful. The readings of how to cast a circle and all of that, and call in the quarters, gave everyone who was with me, who wasn't necessarily witchy or who was just starting to scratch the surface at having interest, an understanding of what the quarters are and why we call them and what they do, how they interact, and an understanding of what witchcraft is at the core. Once again, a beautiful book. Okay, now these books here, they're three, they are dragon magic. So we have dragon magic, mystical dragon magic, and Dancing with Dragons. And they are all by the same author, DJ Conway. I bought these because I had a dragon present herself to me. And I wanted to learn more, and everyone said that Conway is the go-to on everything in the realm of draconic magic. I'm going to be contrary and say that yes, there's some really good information in here. Half of all of these books are literal cut and paste from the first book, um, in which they should have just left it out or said, okay, buy the first book, and they need to be read sequentially. But when I'm literally reading chapter after chapter after chapter, word for word, verbatim, not okay. Just a waste of time and money, and not okay. Now, the information itself I found to be helpful by and large. Um, I also find there to be a lot of what I would call personal gnosis. does not resonate at all with my experience of working with dragons. I now work with several of my own personal dragons, and I assist my friends in building relationships with theirs. And the descriptions and such are not in accordance with what I've experienced. That doesn't mean mine's right and this is wrong, just different. Just different. And my friend's experience is different than mine. And I think it's really hard to give definites about something like dragons, which is what this is trying to do. They're trying to create a dragon Bible, so to speak, of what they look like, how they act, the way to work with them, the way they speak, feel, all of that. And absolutely none of it resonated with my experience. Um, but they were interesting reads. And by the time I hit the third book, I don't remember which the third is. It was so much of the same that I stopped reading. Like, the cutting and pasting is just ridiculous. And these books were not crazy expensive, but they were not inexpensive. And that's my 2 cents. So, overall, I would say that most of these books here are really good. Um, some very beginner friendly, others a little more advanced or will carry with you. Only a couple that I would suggest not buying. Um, I've downsized my collection over time, and I have more that I'm in the process of reading, and um, I can't go through all of my books in one sitting. It's too many. So I hope that you've found at least a couple that you'd like to read or um, ask questions about. Give me your opinion. I'm thrilled to know what other people think. I am open to other interpretations. So by all means, shout out. What's your favorite book? What do you recommend that I read? If there's something that you haven't read yet and you want to hear a review of it, let me know and I'll see if I can pick up a copy and do that. Um, Stay tuned and watch for future videos. I'm going to be starting a series very soon on energy work and why, the whys and hows. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends, share my videos. And if I have butchered names, by all means, please help me pronounce correctly. And have a great day. Thank you. Bye bye.